9:30. There is a small glitch in our system here. That's why we had to delay it a little bit. It's 9:32. So I call this meeting to order. If you don't know me, this is Surya Acharya. I'm the chair for Alberta Forage Industry Network. I have the pleasant duty to welcome you all to this conference and our AGM. And our theme, as you say, as you could see, is resilience in forage production today. But before I say anything more, I think I should recognize or acknowledge that Alberta Forage Industry Network respectfully acknowledges that we live and work on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples, Inuit, First Nations, Métis of Canada. We honor and honor the ancestry, heritage, and gifts of the Indigenous peoples and give thanks to them. The idea was to actually start this meeting right on time so that we can proceed because we have a group of people online. This is a hybrid meeting, hybrid conference. So part of us are here, but there are others throughout the province of Alberta attending it online. So, but for those who are here, there are some housekeeping things I think you can see. Um, Please leave the room in an orderly fashion if there is an emergency and gather at the muster points. And the important thing is please return as quickly as possible when the emergency is over. For our Zoom attendees, if you are having technical issues, please use the chat for assistance. We know Chris, our past president, Chris Folkert, is online, and we would request her to let us know if there is anything happening online, if they can't hear us or can't see us, see the presenter, then please let us know, Chris. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. We can probably ask you what the question is. And those who are here, please use the microphone for asking questions so that the outsiders, those who are joining online, can also hear you and hear the question. And the answer, of course, has to come with the microphone too. And at the end, please fill out the survey, which we always ask. Yes, please. Yes, it is being recorded. If anybody wants to see this recorded proceedings, please feel free. We will definitely post it in our website. And also you can request personally. We will make it available to you. Those are the uh, housekeeping items. Now, I think we can probably see who the sponsors are. We have quite a few sponsors at this time. I think we were very happy to have the sponsors sponsor this event. No matter what we do, it costs money. So without sponsors nowadays, to do anything is not very easy. And you know, this is an organization which is fully volunteer. We have, other than a part-time office assistant, we don't have anybody who gets paid in this organization. I emphasize that because we have to find out some way to make it a little bit better than what we have been doing for last 14 years. We have been in existence for 14 years. We still have no source of income, or there is uh, no nobody is giving us any money, no funds available to us for managing our operations. So that's why we thank our sponsors for helping us out for this conference and meeting. Now about AFIN a little bit. You probably know, if you don't know already, you can go to our website and find out what we are and why we exist. But the important thing is, today I will try to introduce you to some of our board members. And again, I emphasize, they're all volunteers. We do not have any support for any of our board members, even to attend these meetings. As you know, that I'm the chair, Surya Acharya, but our vice chair is Ed Shaw. Can you please stand up, Ed? Make yourself recognized. Okay. The second, our treasurer is not here. She chose the warmer place to go to. She is in Mexico now, but she has been our treasurer for some time, and she has actually helped our organization in an immense way. She is very organized. Chris Folkert, as I said, she is with Olds College. She could not be here in person, but she is attending online. She is our past chair. Grant Lustuka is our secretary. Can you please stand, Grant, so that everybody can recognize you? Doug Ray is one of our directors. Stand up, young man. Sorry. John Bland. There, look at this young man. Alan Hall, he is our board member, but he is actually the representative from Erica. Amber Canyon is no more with us. We have to take some new members to our board. Tamara Godstin, is she online? No? Okay, she could not be with us. So is Kim Cornish. Kim is online, that's very good. Kim, thank you for being online. Cole Zacharias, thank you, Cole. Brent Tigerson, Brent couldn't come. Dwayne Vandenberg, okay. Thank you, Dwayne, for being here. Mary Jane Block, yeah, thank you, Mary. I was looking for you, okay. Courtney O'Keefe, she is another board member. Greg Earl is not here. Emil Dimitriou, he is the representative from Alberta beef producers. Darren Brazil is not here. He is our advisor from Agriculture Agri-Food Canada. We are missing an advisor from Alberta Agriculture. And last but not the least, our most important person who holds us all together is Amanda Bustad. She is our office. Thank you, Amanda. Now a little bit about AFIN. Alberta Forage Industry Network fosters interaction for all that have passion for forages and grasslands, championing research, education, and extension. I think I wanted to memorize all this, but I couldn't do it. That's why I have to most of it I read through. So please be patient with me. My memory is not that sharp anymore. I can declare that. I think in the form of AFIN overview, I think you can see some of those points. But the most important thing I will draw your attention is we want to be the voice of forages in Alberta. We can have forages. We can have forages without livestock. We can't have livestock without forages. Please remember that. That comes from our vice chair, Ed Shaw, tells us, reminds us every time. Whenever beef people put a little bit of pressure on us, he says that, remember this, we can have forages without cattle, but you can't have cattle without forages. The next item is some of the overviews, some of the things that we have done in the past year. We hosted the annual AGM and conference for the future of forages. The speakers were Grant Lustuka, Mark Redford, who is the chair for ARDAR, and Dr. Bart Lardner from University of Saskatchewan. We had also a webinar series that was called Sustainable Forages. We hosted 3 webinars, and the first one was by Ed Bork from University of Alberta. Second one was Harry Powdell from Agriculture Agri-Food Canada Research Center in Lethbridge, who actually has replaced me there. And the drought resilience and perspective with Linda Hunt from AGNA. AFIN board members also participated in a strategy session to create goals for the future of forages last year, and we have actually come up with a big document that outlines what our strategies are for forages, and that was developed by the forage, all the stakeholders that are with forages. We included everybody, including the bee people and the small ruminants and groups like that, uh, and to develop this strategic plan. We have developed the strategic plan. We also have started, but we haven't gone very far because of lack of funding so far. We also had uh, farming the web as website. We have successfully developed that. But again, I think we realized that the funding is over now, and we realized that it probably would be difficult for us to manage without much support from some other group. That's why we'll probably request some other group to take it over if necessary, if they can. We will definitely help them because we had developed it for the people with the help of all the producer groups. So it is a very, very friendly website. But again, any website to run takes money. We need some funding for running it um, on a regular basis. Alberta forage industry is facing significant challenges with an overall decline in forage production and consumption in the province. And we are especially alarming for forage industry as many perennial forage stands are being converted to annual cash crops, which will have lasting effect on health of the entire farming community in Alberta. Historically, Alberta's forest sector has been a major supporting partner of the ruminant livestock industry, including beef, equine, sheep, buffalo, etc., and has helped to protect and improve the health of our the health of our soils too. However, the contribution of forages has never been fully appreciated or recognized. That's our biggest problem so far. Even after 14 years, we feel the same way what we felt in 2010 when we implemented or started AFIN. Now there is a realization that the diverse, about $3 billion per annum provincial forage industry needs a well thought out plan to gain the attention it deserves. We all know that. Everybody in this room probably appreciates that. But again, we have to impress upon those who have the funds to support us so that we can make some progress. Strategic plan document was released last year in our AGM, and it had 3 phases. We recognize that. The first phase was to develop it, and we have done that. And the second phase would be to expand on the different priorities we have identified there, which we have already identified them in our full document. But the interesting thing is we wanted to start the third phase and development of a funding proposal to put a forest center of excellence staff component in place to manage and identified priorities are our first interest. We wanted to do two major things with our strategic plan. One is develop a forest center of excellence, and the second one is to develop or start a major conference on forages in Alberta. These are the main two things I thought we should start first, then the rest of them priorities and things like that would follow suit. But so far, we haven't been able to make progress on either of them. We have some ideas now where to go for setting up a center of excellence, but that's where it is at now. The document has outlined a number of important issues and their mitigation strategies. Most of these issues stem from the fact that there is no full-time staff to carry out the functions necessary or infrastructure support to deal with the identified issues that have negatively impacted the industry. So when we are talking about forages, we're talking about the whole industry, including the export and those subsidiary industries that forages are involved in. So I think what I'm trying to say is, please remember this whenever you have a chance to talk to somebody who pays attention for having these groups survive and do well, actually have some capacity to do something, please don't hesitate to mention it. It is not something that one person can do. I think it is all of our responsibility. If we are serious about forage industry development, forage industry to do well in this province, then all of us have a responsibility to pay attention to that. Significant progress in the areas identified as issues can be made by long-term funding for a province-wide coordinating body, such as the Forage Crop Center of Excellence, with appropriately trained personnel and supportive infrastructure. That is what we feel as a forage industry we should push for. At present, the forage industry does not have the capacity to do this alone and needs support from provincial government, RDAR, BCRC, and ABP to start the process. Please remember this. As with any effective plan, I think this Alberta forage industry, forage strategy is expected to evolve and grow over time in response to industry feedback and new ideas. As we go along, we may have to change some of the strategies that we have originally identified, but the stakeholders have to pay attention to what would be the best for our group. Stakeholders, researchers, and those interested in assisting with the further development of this strategy can contact us, the chair or our office. We will definitely listen to all that, all the concerns or issues. So as I said that we have developed this website, which in our mind, we have done a very good job, and it was developed with funding from OFCAP program with the province. Now the funding has run out, so we have no capacity to maintain it. AFIN is no longer able to sustain farming the web and is looking to find another organization that is able to take it over and grow it to the potential that it can be. I think it has tremendous potential. We also want to put back some of the research work that is going on and also were done in the past in this website for people to find the answers quickly by themselves. But that can only be done if we have some serious funding and some other group to help us with this. So that's all I would say in terms of the my initial comments. I just wanted to know, I just wanted to tell everybody what we are, where we are at with this. We have been in existence for 14 years, since 2010. And that's why it is about time for us to do something significant, not just talk about it, not just plan about it, but actually do something about it. So I'll leave that with you, and then I would, the next item would be the industry updates. Are you ready, Dwayne, to give a small update on CFGA?
Well, good morning. I'm Dwayne Vandenberg. I'm the rep from AFIN on the CFGA board. So I'm going to give you a little update on what's happened in CFGA in the last year. This presentation was prepared for me in the last week while I was in Vegas, and I'm presenting it without having reviewed it on not nearly enough sleep after getting into Calgary a little after midnight last night. So let's see how it goes. You can read as well as I can, I think. So a little bit of history here. CFGA has been around since 2009. There's people in this room that helped get it going. Okay, this clicker might work. And maybe I'm not patient enough. Or it's going to go multiples at a time. Just a little recap or nationwide about industries or forage statistics. We're a big part of Alberta or of Canadian agriculture. 39% of Canadian ag production. Amanda, did you try and turn this volume down or? That's yours. All right. Now I can only hear myself in my own brain instead of from the computer as well. No, I can't hear it anymore. Can you? Oh yeah, I can too. So the Canadian forage industry, $5 billion. That's a lot of dollars worth of agricultural production that comes out of the forage industry across the country. Provincially, obviously, we're a little smaller than that, but it still matters. You heard all of that from Surya already. Well, there was one. What's the penalty for somebody not turning their ringer off? Or maybe he should take over and give the presentation. All right. So strategic CFGA does a lot of different things, but it's all about building forage forage industry, but also preserving grasslands for the environmental benefits. The big ones the last couple of years have been the On-Farm Climate Action Fund, which in Alberta, so CFGA has administered the off-calf grazing programs, I believe, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, BC, and Quebec. So there's other, Ontario has run it differently, Manitoba as well, and the Maritimes are outside of CFGA, but CFGA has been a pretty big part of administering, I think that's the word I was looking for, administering the off-calf funds across Canada. They've done a lot of it, and then advanced grazing systems. They're running a lot of grazing schools and pilot projects across the country. There's a couple in Alberta too, but I'm not sure whether any of the people involved in them are in this room or not. A little more off calf. Government put a lot of money into this, trying to get farmers to help tackle climate change through managing nitrogen, cover cropping, and rotational grazing practices. So a lot of that is it fits right in with what CFGA has been trying to do. But this stuff has been a huge boost to the amount of work that CFGA has done through the last couple of years compared to what they would have done 10 years ago, which has led to a lot of scaling also in trying to catch up with staff and trying to catch up with doing the book work when you get an extra $200 million over a course of a couple of years to run programs that you didn't do before. There's a lot of overhead and a lot of headaches that come with it. And the last 2 years has been insane watching it grow, but everything is kind of stabilized where there's enough staff in place and things are starting to flow fairly smoothly. And I guess we're probably just about time for the government to change policies and take the money away and make everything adjust again. But we'll see what happens when that happens. So you see in 22 and 23, $22.4 million worth of programs on 1,000 applications to run through your office and process and review is a lot of work. Alberta, we had 80 applications, total project costs of $1.7 million, and producers are getting 70% cost share through off-calf on that. There has been $3 million of funding announced for 2024. First round of application intake are right now, and then the second round will be in April. Advanced grazing. This is a mentoring program to try and get people who are not already doing rotational grazing into trying it. Once again, funding for that. You have to do a little bit of a course, or you have to be part of a workshop as part of it. But then there's funding to cover watering and fencing and developing a program. 4,458 producers across the country have been part of this training, and a lot of the training has been training mentors to then train other people. A lot of that happened in 22 and 23. So hopefully this is something that when we start building knowledge into the industry, hopefully it continues to build, right? When somebody knows something, they train somebody else. And knowledge is one of those things that as long as we share the knowledge we have, knowledge continues to grow. It's not like if you just hide it in the back of your brain, it's gone. Some of these programs I don't know a lot about, but Canada Grassland Inventory, that's really interesting because it's part of it is trying to find a way to prove via satellite imagery what actually is and is not grassland across the country. So it involves a lot of comparing satellite imagery to ground truthing. So there's been teams across the country going to spots that satellite imagery says should be grasslands, and they're going and they're ground truthing to see how accurate the satellite imagery is. It's a big project. We got an update on it at our CFGA conference in December, and it's been making a lot of progress. I think that um, it's going to be wrapping up fairly soon and be completed. We did an annual conference from CFGA in Harrison Hot Springs, end of November, early December. Anybody here in the room that was there? Couple people. It was good. We had some pretty good learning experiences there. This year, that will happen in Guelph, Ontario. Once again, end of November, early December. 2 years from now, so 2026, the goal is for the CFJ conference to be in Alberta, probably in the south. I don't even know anything about these projects, so what you see on the screen is as much as I know about them. Same thing here. I've heard about this, but I'm not familiar enough with it to tell you anything about it other than what you see right there. Oh, I guess I tried to tell you about that one. Here's a little more information. I was trying to figure out a second there whether that was marine in the picture, but it doesn't look like it. CFGA coordinates with the government to seek funding for trade missions that happen to other countries. So it's one of their main goals in helping export is CFGA isn't marketing experts. That's not what we do, but we try and help promote the Canadian forage industry around the world. So whether it be bringing buying groups from other countries into Canada and touring them around, which we had a group from the Mideast here in Alberta. Well, they came across Canada. Actually, they toured forage facilities in Quebec and Ontario and Saskatchewan and here in Alberta a couple years ago. So CFGA will help coordinate things like that. They will also help um, if groups want to go to trade shows in other countries. I know there was a trade mission that was trying to put together a proposal to go to a conference in Dubai a while ago, and they started a little too late to get funding because that stuff all takes time. But Canadian Forage and Grassland Association generally supports or runs a Canadian forage booth at a few different shows, including the major dairy show in Wisconsin and the hay show in Kennewick, Washington. There's a few different ones they do. So I've never been with them at any of those, but there's generally they support industry people to go and run the booth for them. So the idea is if you're a hay exporter from Alberta and you want to present at a trade show in a specific market in the States, there's probably a way to get some marketing support or marketing materials through CFGA to help do those kind of things. I love how they lay this out. After I tell you about something, then they come out with a slide about it. A lot of stuff that I already told you about now that's on a slide. Annual partners, just like here in Alberta, we need annual partners and sponsors. CFGA also does. So there's some of the ones that are involved. Dairy Farmers of Canada are a big partner in CFGA. We ought to have them involved here in Alberta as well, but at this point, we haven't been able to do that. Ducks Unlimited is there and here. Um, it's and that's the sponsors that were particularly involved with the conference. It was in BC. That's why you see BC Dairy on there. And this is the provincial groups that are a part of CFGA. And as you see AFIN in the top left corner, that's why I'm on CFGA. I'm the AFIN rep. That's about it. Cedric McLeod is the director. There's his information if anybody wants it here or later on in the presentation. If you have any questions that you think I might be able to answer, I'm here. You can ask now or you can come and catch me later. Thank you.
Oh.
Yes. I can just repeat it. I don't know. I can get more information for you on that. I thought you could. Hey, that's okay. I'll just repeat it here.
Hello, it's working. Yeah, two of the farms are the one's with the University of Farm at Kinsella, the other one's down at Matthias Ranch, down in the Brooks Country. And then there's some dollars that have gone into supporting the pasture work that the Gateway Research Organization is doing up at Westlock.
Thanks, Alan. Anything else? All right, next up.
Thanks, Dwayne. Next up is Ed Shaw. Give a report about the export industry.
Back. Well, first off, welcome to the AGM here in Leduc. After 14 years, it's still nice to be here, but we all had hoped that it'd be a bigger room and more activities. And thank you for the opportunity of speaking to you. I just see Samuel has come back here. He's from Ag Canada, so thanks for still keeping with us. So I'm going to give you kind of an update of the export challenges. First off, the exporters group a variety of forages around the world. And primarily is two products that we do. It's actually three now, but there's alfalfa, which goes to the dairies, the camels, the goats and sheep. For the milking part of goat, camel, goats and sheep. And then the grasses will go into horses, camels and pet food. Go away. The third thing that I failed to omit on that, or I didn't put on there, was that there's a great opportunity for a couple of exporters in Alberta that does dehydrated corn silage. And that is going to Japan, other Asian countries, and the Middle East. There's Green Prairie and Lethbridge and Bar Egg are the only two in Canada that are doing it. And the dairies like silage. You can't set wet silage, but there's technology now available to dehydrate silage. So you take the water out of it, which is weight, backs out containers, and they just add water at the other side. So that's something new that. One of the things that is kind of frustrating at many times is that there's a lack of knowledge of the benefit of the export production in the forage industry. A lot of people say, well, you're taking land out of forages, you're driving my forage costs up here. And in essence, what happens is there's more acres put in and the quality that's required for moisture and overall quality is higher for the export market than a lot of our domestic markets require. And anything that is rejected for the export market comes back into the domestic market. So I think we're getting more acres put into forages for that reason. So it widens the pool and benefits the whole industry. The benefits, I did a presentation too that Amanda, I think, is going to send. This is all written and I'm just trying to follow the written guidelines. As I said, that the benefits is the reject forages increases domestic supply, increases in quality of some of the hay for domestic utilization. it does provide a producer with another cash crop and another alternative, provides another rotational crop in oilseed and grain production, which breaks the disease cycle. There's a lot of issues with some of the crops that have been grown over and over and over. And forages produce or offer the opportunity for another cash crop and also benefits from the break in the disease cycle. And then it's forages, the legumes will put more nitrogen in the field, in the soil, and generally increase the texture, and will put more fiber and organic soil material back in the soil. Which can improve the microbial activity in the soil, can sequester carbon, and as a result, it can increase the moisture retention that may help out in some of the dry years, so the soils will retain more moisture. Conclusion. There's a tremendous opportunity for Canada to meet the growing needs of the forages. What I didn't admit, what I omitted in this was that some of the trade headwinds that we face is competition from the other parts of the world. Forages, the demand for forages is very, very high. Prices of forages a couple of years ago skyrocketed and people went crazy and paid too much money for it. In the US, there's a lot of alfalfa, that's 2-year-old alfalfa sitting in the sheds. Some of the exporters have paid inventory. I was talking to one big exporter out of Ellensburg here the last week, and for every ton of that 2-year-old stuff, he's losing over $100 a ton to ship it. So he's blending it off with the prices. The prices have come down. The other scary thing about the forage industry is when oil seeds and grains went up significantly, a lot of acres were taken out and planted into oil seeds and cereal grains because it made more profit and was less risk. That trend is changing because, as you know, feed corn and feed barley have gone down and the prices dropped significant. Wheat is staying up there. Canola's come down. One of the biggest issues that we have is that up in this country, you can rip out forages and go into a cereal or oilseed crop very fast, but you put forages back into your rotation. Generally, the first year does not meet export grade because there's too many weeds and the stands aren't good enough. So it takes 2 years to get back into the forage cycle. And as Surya said at the very beginning, and I coined this phrase a number of years ago, you can have grasses and forages without animals, but you cannot have animals without forage. And our grass crops are the key to most of our, well, land-borne proteins, with the exception of some of the lentils that are coming in that is not animal-based. But if we don't take care of our forages, if we don't promote that, we're going to hamper our beef industry, which needs this. So, and 39% of the acres in Canada, I think Dwayne put up there from CFG, is in forage production. It's the largest amount of acres put into production. Yet the wheat, the barley, and the canola growers seem to get their act together and are able to work as a big pool and get funding. We need to somehow work on this and get more attention from somebody. There are very successful people that have met the challenges in this room, and I think we need as a group to promote and advance those people that are doing new technology and new practices. And I think we need to somehow promote that more and more and more so that everybody understands what the beef industry or what the grain industry, what the hay industry is doing for the animals. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll be around if anybody got any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And now the report from Alan Hall about Erica.
Thanks, Saria. Not sure where to start, but I think I'll start with the just to refresh everybody's memory on the forage and applied research associations around the province. They do a lot of the extension work on the forage side of things. Some are involved in some of the research activities that are going on. They're involved with Kim Cornish and the living labs, those types of things. So a lot of field days, activities, on-farm projects, et cetera, et cetera. We've got three of the associations here in the room today, Farming Forward from the San Gudo, Evansburg, Edson country, Ian Kidd and Rod Nickel. We've got Tatiana here from Grey Wooded Forage. We've got Jose and Leanne from North Peace up at Manning country. Probably one or two that'll be online as well. We all gathered here yesterday for the Erica AGM and meetings with the associations and that type of thing. But I just want to refresh your memory on those ones. There's 12 of those groups around the province. And they vary all the way from Lethbridge to Fort Vermilion, from Oyen and Bonnyville on the east side of the province to High River, Rocky Mountain House, up into the Peace Country. So they're pretty much spread around the whole province, all run by they're farm organizations, they're run by producers, have staff on the ground to actually do the job. Erica has been working pretty closely with CFGA. Dwayne has covered a lot of the stuff there, but we basically have been the CFGA partner here in Alberta on the off-calf programs, on the grazing mentorship programs, and on the Canada Grasslands Inventory program that Dwayne alluded to a bit earlier. On the off-calf side of things, our responsibilities are more in the area of the extension programming and the support services to the farmers that are accessing off-calf grants. CFGA manage the actual farm grants themselves. But it's been a lot of uptake and demand. The program is just open again for another year. RDAR as well is active on the forage side of things with off-calf. So we keep in pretty close contact with them. But that combination of CFGA and RDAR, and now the new Alberta government program, RELP. And man, there's money all over the doggone place here if you want to do something on forages and grazing, I'm telling you. That's Grant, those are the heydays. So that's the capacity we've got out across the province to kind of work with the ranchers and the farmers with respect to what they're wanting to do with their forage crops, be it grazing, be it winter feed, be it on the seed side of the industry. Haven't had a lot of involvement on the export side. That's a fairly tight industry, Ed and a couple of other folks, and we haven't had a lot of involvement there, but there's good capacity to work with farmers. I guess the other thing I would mention that's happening, we're part of I call it a consortia for lack of another word. It's a group that's come together, the commissions, the applied research and forage associations, the ag service boards around the province, the colleges, the universities, RDAR is involved, Ag Canada is involved, and Alberta Ag are involved. But basically a push to get specialists back into the system. We miss the Grant Lestukas of the world, regardless of whether it's in forages or crops or livestock or hogs or whatever it might be. And so there's an organized push through this consortia to get some financing in place to bring specialists back into the system, which is really going to put a boost to the level of knowledge that's going to be available for all of the extension activities that are going on around the province. So that work is underway. It is happening. We'll see where it gets to in terms of the longer term. There will be a pilot project that'll be kicking off here later on this year. Some hiring has to be done, those kinds of things. There's going to be a pretty strong engagement process with yourselves and with a whole lot of other folks across the agricultural sector on where do we start. You know, everybody's got a wish list. Budgets are limited, but at least we'll get something underway, and it's being designed in a way that as new investment can come in, it can be expanded and additional people brought in as needed. This will be a kind of a joint approach of the industry, a lot of the allied industries and so on is what's being called, the veterinarians, the farm supply industry, those kinds of things, with the farm organizations and with the government. So it's kind of a that sort of a consortia. That's not the right word, but it's the best I can come up with. That work is underway. And so there will be some specialists back in the system starting this fall. And then that'll hopefully grow over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. Who knows where it goes to in the future. Pretty exciting to sort of get some of that rebuilding done. So that's sort of where we're at. Eric has got a couple of other programs that are on the go. Dwayne referred to the Habitat program with CFGA. We've got that incorporated into the environmental farm plan. Environmental farm plan right now has probably pushing 4,500 farms that are in that have environmental farm plans in place that are current and up to date. The ag service boards and the associations are instrumental, very key people in working with the individual farms on getting those things in place. It looks as though Agri-Invest, for those of you who might be involved with that, is going to also be requiring there be an environmental farm plan in place in order to participate in that particular program. So we are kind of thinking with the demands that are coming, we're probably looking at doubling or tripling those numbers over the next 5 years. So we could easily hit 10,000 farms, ranches that are going to be in that program. The drive is coming from some of these government programs. The drive is also coming from the supply chains. The potato industry, for example, are requiring that all their growers have environmental farm plans, and that's being driven by the processors in part. The same thing is happening in the dairy industry right across the country. Dairy Farmers of Canada have basically made the decision that all dairy farms will have an environmental farm plan, and that's to kind of help them fight the battles with Coca-Cola and all that sort of stuff in the marketplace. So those kinds of drivers are starting to. Alberta sugar beet growers are involved. The Alberta beekeepers are going down the same road. We've got discussions that are getting underway with Alberta Grains, which would be the wheat, barley, canola, the pulses. Alberta Beef is involved in some of these discussions. So that looks like it's going to be kind of a direction that things are going with the environmental farm plan. I will close on a final note. There was a mention of AGNO last year. Linda Hunt, I think, talked to you about a little bit about the mental health side of things. It's a tough situation, quite frankly. If you look at the research, the agricultural sector, farming and ranching, have suicide rates that are 4 times that of what's happening in society overall. There's a lot of stressors that cause that. You know them better than I do. And so we've been working hard to get in place the therapist network that can work with you on an individual basis, work with individual farmers, their families, or the veterinarians in the case of where you're getting into depopulation of the poultry operations. Some of the vets have had a pretty tough time trying to cope with having to deal with that, let alone the individual poultry producers themselves. You know, avian flu, got to shut your barn down, got to kill off your flock. I just can't even imagine what it would feel like to have to go out there and basically get rid of your living and have to start over again. So very, very difficult times in some sectors of agriculture. And so these therapists, there's a network of about 15 of them or so. They're spread around the province. We provide free access to those services for the first couple of visits, and then the individuals make their choices from there. These therapists, what's different about them is they've got all the medical accreditation, but they also have a farm background. Many of them are farming themselves. They come from a farm, grew up on a farm. So they're in a much better position to be able to have a bit of a relationship with the farmers that they're working with, in that they've walked that street themselves. And so that's the value that broad network of therapists can bring to the table. So those are some of the things that we're doing in terms of Erica with the associations. And have any questions, fire away.
There's a question online from Dale. Will the specialists be part of Alberta agriculture?
No. No, the
Thanks.
specialists will be part of an industry group. No. That group is yet to be set up. We're shepherding it. Eric is providing the administrative support. for the group at the moment through the pilot project, but eventually it'll get set up as its own company. And it'll be an elected board of directors from industry. Good. Thank you much.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan. Now the last report, we're asking the Alfalfa Seed Commission. Jen?
So Jen's online and she's going to share her presentation here.
Hello, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. All right, well, thank you for having me present for your meeting. I'm sorry that I can't be there in person today. My name is Jen Retzloff and I'm from the Alfalfa Seed Commission of Alberta, down in Brooks, Alberta, and I'm the Research and Extension Manager for our commission. I was happy to be there in person last year. Got frozen. All right. Our commission is headquartered out of Brooks, Alberta, and we serve kind of all of southern Alberta, with our main purpose being to initiate and participate and promote any sort of activities that enhance both alfalfa seed, so the production of the seed side of that industry, as well as leafcutter bee industries in southern Alberta. And we do this through, obviously, from my job title, research and extension. So we have a number of research projects ongoing. We partner with different universities, private research firms, other research groups, as well as doing our own internal projects, looking at a number of different topics, including, different fungal disease modeling and forecasting projects. We do a lot of IPM work looking at our problematic pest species, things like alfalfa weevil, how they move, what products are working on them, what are some other tools that we can develop to control them, etc. We also do a good number of plot trials looking at different product tools that can be used in our crop itself. On the leafcutter bee side, we also do some ongoing monitoring of viral load for our leafcutter bees and looking at some of the different issues that afflict that population, like our parasitoid wasps, has been a big focus. We also, of course, do extension for our producers in the form of a fall and a spring meeting, an AGM, as well as a summer tour, where we can actually take them out to visit our research plots. So that's a little bit about our commission itself. I'll jump right into sort of the industry report of this now, and bear with me, I'm going to fly through some of this. But when we think about seed usage in Canada, obviously there's two sides of this, which is commercial seed versus the pedigreed seed, which is more what our commission deals with. And what you can see in commercial seed is that since 2018, its usage has been rising in Canada up to about 1 million kilograms used in 2022. And this is the most up-to-date census I was able to get. And then in terms of pedigreed varieties, we've seen a contracture down from 2.5 million kilograms in 2018 down to right around that 2 million mark. And the production area of this, as you all know, is right in the prairies. So largely Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba takes up most of the seed usage. And so if we look at certified acres, what we can see are a few trends across the prairies. So if we look at Canada as a whole, 2023, there was about 43,000 acres of certified acres in Canada across. And if we break that down by province, Alberta had about 18,000, 9,000 in Manitoba, and then Saskatchewan was just behind Alberta at 16,400. You can see that Saskatchewan and Manitoba have stayed relatively stable, whereas Alberta has experienced a bit of a contraction down from a high of even close to 80,000 acres in 2017, 2018. If we compare the Canadian historical average to this, it doesn't seem quite so bleak. where the historical average of, 4+ decades, even 5-6 decades, was 39,000 acres. So we're still sitting above that historical average for certified acres in Canada. If another way to look at this is through the CSGA report that came out in the fall, and you can see that number of 43,000 across Canada. And you can see that this has been a bit of a decline since 2017, down from that 80,000. Again, Alberta was right in that 18,000 acres range. This was lower than we expected to see when this report came out in the fall. And there's a number of factors for that. Demand has softened for certified seed. Over the last few years, there's been a backlog in seed inventories. There's been movement towards more annual crops. Demand for those other crops has been higher. And we also had a few things industry specific, including the sale of Alpharex, which resulted in termination of several thousand acres of seed production. As well, we suffered some winter kill in southern Alberta last year due to an early thaw, which iced over and then resulted in some winter kill of 1,000+ acres here in southern Alberta. So kind of an unexpected year, certainly in 2023. If we look at exports for alfalfa seed, for certified seed, when we look at this across the world, obviously we export to a number of countries, but sort of the big players, that blue line at the top is exports to the United States, which is where the majority of our seed goes. And just like I was talking about sort of the contraction of acres, you can see a contraction in exports to the US as well. They've kind of been following this trend with us. What you will notice is that in 2023, we did have an uptick in exports overseas, largely to the Netherlands and to China. China is a price sensitive buyer, so this seems to be the year where that price was right for them to purchase. If we look specifically at the US, for Canada total, you can see that in terms of pounds of seed exported, we're sitting right around that 4 million mark, both for certified or pedigreed seed and for common seed. And if we break this down just by Alberta itself, you can see that we're responsible for the vast majority of that certified seed that's going to the US, and less so of the common seed, which is that green line, which is down around that 1.5 million pounds mark. Like I mentioned at the start of this talk, we are focused not only on alfalfa seed, but alfalfa leafcutter bees as well. It's a bit of an intertwined dual industry. We rely on these small leaf cutting bees for the pollination in our crop. Our flowers have a tripping mechanism that need to be tripped by the right type of pollinator to achieve proper pollination and seed set. And alfalfa leaf cutting bees are very, very efficient at doing this. And thankfully, what we end up getting from them is a secondary crop in our system. So what we're able to do is provide nesting material in our fields, which the leafcutter bees fill with cocoons. We're then able to strip out those cocoons, incubate them in the spring, and then once those bees are hatching, we actually put them out into the shelters in our alfalfa seed fields, where they then, of course, go and visit flowers and achieve pollination. They also then refill the nesting material and the cycle repeats. What this results in is that year to year, we get to keep our pollinators for our own crop, and then we get to also sell the excess. The excess stays in Canada as well as exports. So leafcutter bees are used in, of course, alfalfa seed, but they're also used in hybrid seed canola production across the prairies, largely in Alberta. And we also export to various countries, but by and large, we export to the US. They do not get the same bee return in their fields as we do, and they rely on importing bees quite largely. And so what you can see if we look at exports for leafcutter bees since 2017, 2018 is mirrored to our seed exports, to our acreage of seed production is, somewhat of a contraction. This isn't it. The leafcutter bee pricing is not always reflective of how many bees are available to the market. So you can see that there was a big boom in how many bees and how much money or how much was exported to the US in 2017, even though if we compare price per gallon that they were sold at was quite low. We then hit, quite a low in 2020 and 21, followed by an all-time high in 2022 at $130 per gallon. Things have evened out a little bit over the last 2 years, kind of more into a $70 to $90 per gallon range for leafcutter bees. Things seem to be equalizing a little bit. And just to finish up, I just want to touch on a few concerns and bright spots of our industry. So we, as many industries, have been struggling with the loss of registered products. Particularly, we have been struggling with the loss of Vapona for our leafcutter bee incubators. And thankfully, we've been able to partner with different organizations to promote new research into looking into alternatives. I'm out of time, so I won't touch on this too heavily. We also, you've probably seen in the news, concerns with irrigation in southern Alberta. We've been experienced drought conditions, and we rely heavily on irrigation for a very productive area in southern Alberta. These irrigation districts are fed by a number of reservoirs, which experienced very different levels of water restriction last year. And this is something that we're keeping an eye on moving into the coming seasons. And we feel that this could push or pull folks back into our industry, given that water may be restricted for some of those high water needs crops. The bright spots that I want to touch on are that it's not all doom and gloom. We've had a few lower acre years, and we hope that this will balance our long inventory that we've had and increase demand back towards alfalfa seed. Annual crop prices have, of course, affected the demand for alfalfa, but the costs of inputs have been skyrocketing, and we hope that can bring folks back to a perennial crop as well. In southern Alberta, we have great growers, great production, and great bee return. And we know that we have a solid industry, and we think that the future should balance out and be really positive. Thank you.
Very nice report. Is there any question for her? Yeah.
Thanks, Jen. Quick question. Do you do any work with the beef facility up in Grand Prairie? And additionally, is there any results on the work for chest lid control with the parasites?
Yeah, I could talk your ear off all morning about this. We do partner with the NBDC currently with Dr. Gail McInnes there, looking for botanical alternatives. So looking at the derivatives found within spices, so things like eugenol, cinnamaldehyde, for control of the chalcid wasp that we have issues with in our incubators. She has been working on this project for about a year now, and we have some preliminary results from the last field season. And she's currently completing more lab studies to find prototypes to test in incubators this spring. Whoever asked that question, please reach out to me. There's a lot more to say, but yeah, a really positive project that's making really good progress. And we hope to find something that's viable. Obviously, our incubators range from the size of a sea can all the way up to warehouses. So to find an alternative that can control such a small insect is a real challenge.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks.
You have a question? We are a little bit of, more than our allotment of time, but this is
Sorry.
important for the reports are important. That's why I'm allowing that. Go ahead.
I'll ask, and then hopefully if need be more. Just wondering about
this year based on that disease and situation affecting the industry and the exports, and a little bit about the seed acres with the winter we've had. What is Jen predicting is going to be a concern to survival?
Did you hear that, Jen? Did you
Evaluation that
hear
came
that,
down in
Jen?
2020, we did have partners who were proactive and they were able to get the remaining stocks of the pesticide control strips from Scotts Canada. So we are aware that most of our producers have product to be able to use in their incubators. We also have strongly encourage our producers to use their best practices. So things that can minimize these parasitoid wasps in our incubators, tight blocks, throwing out blocks that are damaged or mouse eaten, making sure that your population of leafcutter bees are healthy and have low parasite levels, etc. So kind of a number of strategies there. This winter, I am not the person to predict whether we'll have winter kill. I think that's your question, or what we're expecting. I don't think I'm the person to ask. Weldon Hobbs, who's in person today, might be the person to ask. I haven't seen signs that indicate that we should have bad winter kill yet this year. I haven't heard reports of, sheets of ice over fields, despite that cold snap in January, but I can think about it some more.
Past our time allotment, so we will go for coffee break. And if there is any questions left, I think we can deal with it at the end. So how about that? We have about, we'll start at 1 or 11 for our AGM. So there is a break now for about 14 minutes.